when we think about David and that episode in his life where he sinned with Bathsheba and later kills their husband Uriah, most of the time we think about God's mercy, and that's true, that, and repentance, as we see it in Psalms 51, where David actually pours his heart in honest repentance. And most of the time we use that to encourage believers, telling them that no matter how big your sin is, God is going to forgive you. God can forgive you if you come to him in repentance. And that's very, very true. But we also need to reflect, how did David get there? We know David, we are introduced to him as a young man. Samuel goes to his father. He wants to anoint the next king of Israel. And this handsome man, those are David's brothers, are brought to Samuel in front of Samuel. And God keeps on saying, not this one, not this one, not this one. 7 times, not this one, not this one. And then eventually Samuel asks, is there any other? And we are told there's David. And David is brought and he's anointed. Then we see him kill Goliath. Israel's army is afraid of this giant they are calling Goliath. But David, a young man, just a boy, they call him, has such faith that he says, I will defeat this man who's defiling the armies of the Most High God. And he fights Goliath and he gets victory. We see David, in Saul's palace, when the evil spirit comes upon Saul, we are told that this great minister, would sing, that is David, to Saul, and the evil spirits would depart. We see David, later on when Saul is pursuing him to kill him, and twice David has an opportunity to kill Saul, but David says, no, I will not touch the Lord's anointed, a righteous man. Even though Saul was not fair to David on many counts, when Saul dies, David, we are told, really mourns for this man of God. I actually calls him great king, a great king, though most of us will not say Saul was a great king. We see such a righteous man, such a somebody with a good heart. So what happened? That the next story we hear about David is that David, sleeps with somebody he knew very well was somebody's wife. And when he learns he's pregnant, he plots to kill the husband and actually executes that plot to completion. What happened? That this amazing David, this righteous David, this good-hearted David gets to a place where he sins against God, and kills, commits adultery and kills. Big sins. They're big and small sins, if we are allowed to say that they're big and small sins. What happened? And for me, the question I want to ask today is, what happened to David? And unfortunately, I do not have the answer. But what I can say is we need, as the Bible tells us in 1 Corinthians, I believe chapter 10, verse 12, it tells us, let him who thinks they stand take heed lest they fall. Had David become very confident in himself, had everybody sung about how righteous he is, that he had started believing it, what happened, So we need to be, even us who, those of us who have walked the Christian walk for a long time, I know some of you many more years than I have, we need to constantly know or have it at the back of our minds that we are not immune to falling. David, maybe got to that point and thought himself a little bit righteous. I don't know. But we need to live in that reality. Later on, in Psalm 139, we see David saying, crying out to God in the last verses of Psalm 139, search me, O Lord, I know my anxious thought. See if there are any wicked ways in me and lead me to the life everlasting, to the way everlasting. That should be the cry of our hearts, not to be confident that we cannot fall, not to be confident of those things, but to consistently ask God to search our hearts to see if there's any, ways that are leading us away from God, and God to redirect us back. Because just like David, we are not immune to falling, and we should ask God to hold our hands. God bless.